Alright, so welcome back to Mini Nocturne What's in the Box Part 2. If this is your first, this is the first one you watch for the first, this is Part 2, remember. So if you didn't watch Part 1, get off of this one and go to Part 1 before you continue watching Part 2. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so now we have some other heirlooms. Okay. So yeah, Pixie is not down to earth at all. I mean, when was the last time you can clearly say in your right mind that you saw a Pixie and you were sober and everything? When was the last time you saw one? Well, I don't think so. So not down to earth. But, like I said, I couldn't get rid of everything, so some stuff had to just stick around for the ride, I guess. Anyways, so let's do the heirloom first. The goat. And obviously, the fairy or the pixie or whatever you want to call it is in the picture with the goat. And once again, it's a treasure that's just like copper. It produces one treasure. But it has something else as well. When you play this, you may trash a card from your hand. So that's kind of interesting. I like that idea. Like, there are some games where you wish you could trash cards, but there are no cards that allow you to trash cards. Unless you're playing with Dark Ages, of course. Dark Ages seem to always have at least one card that trashed a card in the game, if not several. But this one, you know, guarantees that if you have this, even if the supply doesn't have a card that lets you trash cards, you could still potentially trash some cards with this heirloom. So don't lose it. Because one thing about heirlooms is each player is going to get just one of these. So you're not going to have 10 goats in your hand. You're not going to have 5 goats in your hand. You're not even going to have 2 in your hand. You're only going to have 1 in your entire deck. And so, you know, so that means you don't want to lose it if it's really good. Especially if this is the only way you can trash cards. You definitely don't want to lose this heirloom. Alright. And then there's Pixie. Alright, so you get a card, you get an action. Pretty basic. Then you discard the top boon. You may trash this to receive that boon twice. And boons are a good thing. So you definitely want to get boons if you're interested in boons. Because they usually do a lot of positive stuff. So discarding the top boon, because there's 12 boons, and then trashing this card to receive that boon that you discarded twice could be potentially good. There are some that would be very useful if you received them twice. And there are some that aren't as useful that you could receive twice. So, it just depends, I suppose. But that's why it says you may trash this to receive that boon twice. So, if you don't like what you discarded, if you discard the top boon and it's not something you want at that moment, you don't have to trash this. So that's cool. Then you can just hold on to it for later and trash this later once you get a boon you want to play twice. That actually is a pretty cool aspect. I like that. So that's really cool. Okay. Not the best, but interesting. Alright. Oh, and I got this on the wrong side. I'm trying to do heirlooms first. Right side first. Okay, well, Magic Lamp. Once again, another card. Not very down to earth. I kept it just because, you know, I liked Aladdin when I was a kid, so, you know, why not why not play a game with a Magic Lamp, so what? Okay. Once again, just produces a treasure. So far, all of them have been just producing one treasure. But that will change eventually. Okay, then when you play this, if there are at least 6 cards that you have exactly one copy of in play, trash this. If you do, you gain 3 wishes. 3 wishes from their pile. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, it's not down to earth. But, you know, if you've watched Aladdin, you know that you get 3 wishes, right? So that's kind of cool. But like I said, when you play this, there have to be at least 6 cards that you have exactly one copy of in play. So you definitely want to play this after you have played all your treasures and actions. And you also have to have 1 copy of in play. Exactly 1 copy. So it has to be exactly 1 copy. So if you have 2 golds in play, that's not exactly 1 copy, is it? So you wouldn't be able to do this. You'd have to have, well, let's say a copper, a silver, a gold. That's 3, but you couldn't have any more than that. And then you'd have to have one action, a different action, and a third action in play. For instance, in order for this to work. So the chances of it actually working is slim to none, but when it does happen, you're like, woohoo! Awesome! Alright, and what are wishes? Well, we will go over wishes later. There are a lot of cards in this expansion that are not in the supply, obviously including the heirlooms, and so we're going to do videos for the cards that are actually not considered in the supply, at least eventually. And we'll probably come back to this and show you what the wishes are and put them with the magic lamp in a future video. Okay, then we have the secret cave, another action that goes with an heirloom. And this one's okay. It gives you a card, it gives you an action, and you may discard 3 cards. If you did, then at the start of your next turn, you get +3 treasure. So, maybe you have a bunch of victory cards in your hand, and you don't have Shepherd at the moment, or Shepherd isn't in the game. So you could discard those 3 victory cards, and at the start of your next turn, you would have 3 extra treasure, plus you get a card and an action. So it's not a complete waste. And it says you may, so you don't have to discard 3 cards. So that's kind of cool, I think. Gives you that option as well. And, maybe you have something else you don't want. Maybe a copper or a wasteland, for instance. You don't want those cards. Or one of those ruins. If you're playing with Dark Ages, maybe a ruins card. You could discard that. So there's some options for sure. And the secret cave and the magic lamp is pretty cool. And even though like I said, not a big fan of the magic lamp being in my game, it's still kind of a cool thematic aspect of how these two work together so well. Or at least just in theme, they work together. So that's pretty cool, I think. Alright. Okay, we still got some more heirlooms to go over, so let's get started here. Alright, so this was one I replaced. And I'm not even going to bother mentioning what cards I replaced. You can probably figure it out for yourself if you've played Nocturne. So, I did make new cards for the heirlooms that I replaced, but I kept this one the same because I like ill-gotten gold and I don't have an issue with it at all. So, because, it's just interesting. And then anyways, so 3 money, it gives you 3 money, it produces 3 treasure. An heirloom that starts with 3 treasure, like a gold, that's really cool. But there's a catch, isn't there always? When you play this, you gain a wasteland. It even says wasteland. So when you make your own cards and you run out of blank cards, the cool thing about this is now I can actually have wasteland on the cards if I need to or want to. That's pretty cool. I like that. So that's cool. And then, so it could help you out, it might not. And then you may trash a treasure other than ill-gotten gold for this action called dwarfism for +4 cards. Now, I say dwarfism because, that's an actual thing, and then I just decided to go with a picture of a dwarf. Even though the picture itself isn't very realistic, dwarfism is realistic, so I thought, hey, that's still pretty cool, I like that. So, anyway, you may trash a treasure for other than... So if you trash, like, a copper, for instance, then you get +4 cards. That is pretty cool. Trash a copper... +4 cards. I like that a lot. Which is another reason why you do not want to replace all of the starting coppers with heirlooms. Because with this, you're definitely going to want some coppers around to trash so you can draw 4 cards. So, anyways, let's move on. Alright. So, here's another heirloom we have. Scarab earrings. And yes, that is a thing. Those are real earrings. And I believe those are real scarabs, or they were at one time. I don't know how they make it so you can actually wear it as jewelry in real life, but they do it. Anyway, so once again, it produces a copper treasure-like treasure. But then you may trash this when you discard an action to gain a gecko from its pile. So basically, when you trash this... So if you have a card that lets you trash this, you may also discard an action, and then if you do, you'll gain a gecko from its pile. And once again, the gecko is a card that is not in the supply, and that's kind of cool. Geckos eat scarabs, right? So That's how I came up with that interesting idea as an interesting replacement for an heirloom. And it's still sort of like an heirloom type thing anyway. That's pretty cool. So, definitely what I think of an heirloom is definitely scarab earrings. That's for sure. And then here's cemetery. And I also replaced cemetery, but I kept it the same just to, so that way it would say heirloom scarab earrings on it. And so it does the same thing that the cemetery did. And so this one also lets you trash up to 4 cards from your hand whenever you gain this. So that's another way of, you know, getting that to work with this. Okay, let's hurry up. We have one more heirloom, and I want to get it done before the end of this video real fast. This is definitely one of my favorite combination cards for the heirlooms. Well, this one is pouch, and it gives you a treasure, and it gives you a plus buy. So that is really cool to start out with that. And then the tracker gives you plus treasure, and also lets you receive a boon. But this is the coolest part about it. While this is in play, when you gain a card, you may put that card onto your deck. That is cool. You could potentially get a bunch of buys, or have a lot of gain cards, and get to gain all of them to the top of your deck and see your discard pile. That is cool. Definitely my second favorite pairing of the heirloom cards for sure. Alright, and so that's it for the heirlooms and their corresponding actions. And we will probably show some of them again in future videos for those cards that are not in the supply.